Welcome to Your Epic Pursuit. I'm Mike Mooney, and I'm so glad that you're joining us today. This is a space where we dive into inspiring and real conversations with people to learn more about their journeys of leadership and performance. And as usual, we're going to sort of like filter the conversation and look at it through that epic lens of excellence, presence, intentionality, and curiosity, which you'll sort of see and hear woven throughout the conversation today. And look, our intent is really, really simple. The goal is to provide you with unique insights and also empowering and actionable tools that will help accelerate your personal or professional pursuit. And I got to tell you, I am so excited about our guest today. A friend of mine for many years in the sports, someone that I've admired for a long time. And I'm just glad that we're able to carve some time out of her busy schedule to join us. But we have Brooke Faw with us, and Brooke is the Vice President of Client Experiences at Bespoke Sports and Entertainment and has been with the agency since it was founded in 2014. But beyond that, her career in sports and entertainment spans more than 20 years, quite the veteran in our space. And Brooke is widely considered the leading executive voice in women's sports, which was illustrated by her being named to the 2025 class of Game Changers by the Sports Business Journal, and was recently named a top woman in business and added to the 40 under 40 list by the Charlotte Business Journal. Brooke, I am so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Awesome. Well, hey, before we jump in, I'd love to know what's something that you're working on these days that's got you excited. I know a lot's been happening on the business side. You're active on the personal side, but tell me something that's going on that's got you excited.
Yeah, so I think everybody knows by now, Bespoke recently got acquired by Publicis, which is an amazing
Congratulations.
group that we're really excited to join the family. And I didn't really know how quickly we would get integrated into the family until about a week after the acquisition was announced. And I got a phone call asking if I could be in New York. They couldn't really tell me what the project was. But they just said, we need you. And so I flew to New York, went into this huge session, got prepped, and it was actually for a Super Bowl commercial that then is going to have extensions through all of their league activations into the next year. And so we
Awesome.
dove in, came up with a bunch of ideas of like what that could look like. I've never really been a huge part of creative processes. Usually we get the creative handed to us and then we bring it to life experientially. So this was the first time that I got to kind of see how the creative minds think. And that was wild and so fun. And then about a month ago, we got the news that we actually won the business, and it was huge, not only for Bespoke, but for Publicis as a whole. With this client, they've actually never been asked to do creative before. They've only been asked to do media buying. So this opened up a whole new area that they are now seen as the specialist in. And so when we all got the news, like there were happy tears shed kind of all around, which was amazing. And then it was full go, right? So I've been on so many calls and so many meetings and things trying to get this ready. And I can't talk a ton about it yet, but when the commercial comes out and then the activations and things unfold, I'll be able to really share what it is. And it's probably the work hands down that I've been most proud of. Like, it is phenomenal work coming from so many different parts and pieces that have pulled it together and made it really cohesive.
Yeah, you know what's awesome about that? Congratulations, by the way. That is phenomenal news. But I think that for people who haven't lived on that agency side and understand, like, they'll see the commercial, they'll see the output, or like in your case, like the event, they come in and experience, have a great time. Oh my God, it was amazing. They don't realize always all the work. And people say, it sounds cliche, all the behind the scenes work that goes on. But when you talk about from the agency side, where you have multiple agencies with multiple areas of responsibility and trying to rally all that together to meet timelines, budgets. I mean, this is like one of the biggest events on earth that's coming up that you all are a part of. That is amazing.
The first
Congratulations.
call I was on, there were like, the Brady Bunch screens from the Teams calls. There were like
Yeah.
60 different squares. And I went, oh my gosh.
I'm running out of screen
Okay,
space,
there's
right?
going to be a lot of personalities to be able to try and get together on this. But to
Right.
give credit, like, and it's why we agreed to be acquired by who we agreed to be, right? Like
Yeah.
they were all amazing people. Everybody worked hard. Everybody pitched in. It was late nights, early mornings, a lot of explanation. I came in kind of as the sports expert. So
Yeah.
trying to explain to creatives why that doesn't work, because we're talking football, not, soccer or something that they
Right.
understand.
Right.
It
Right.
was, a lot of just, collaboration. And like I said, it's been one of the biggest learning experiences of my career.
I love it. That is awesome. That's awesome. Well, I mean, again, opportunities for growth, leadership, shared leadership, finding common ground, right? All those great things. So with that in mind, thinking about your leadership journey, right? Because I really want to peek under the hood a little bit on your experience and how you got to where you are today. Because as we know as leaders, it's not always pretty. It's not always a smooth ride. We learn the most and sometimes the best in the storms, right? And when we get knocked
Mm-hmm.
down. But I'm curious to know, like, is there like a bold decision at some point that you had to make and people questioned it, maybe even you questioned it, right? And ultimately that would transformed either the situation, helped your leadership journey, you kind of see and maybe reach a new level of leadership yourself personally.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I've learned as a leader, which, by the way, I was just listening to this like clip on Instagram last night, and I'm gonna butcher her name, but it's Chandra Rhimes or whatever. She created Scandal. She created Grey's Anatomy. She's like the amazing African American director that has done all of these killer TV shows.
Right.
She was talking, and she was like, "No one taught me how to be a leader. I just fell
Mhm.
into it and figured
Yeah.
it out." And she was saying something along the lines of, like, people don't realize how powerful they are. Like, we think of leaders as powerful, and there's a lot of people out there that don't understand the power that they have because of either
Yeah.
the intelligence that they have or the ability to get people to collaborate together or whatever
Mhm.
their superhero skill is. There's a lot of people out there that don't even comprehend or give their own selves credit. So I think a couple of huge things I had to learn when becoming a leader. One is just to throw imposter syndrome out the window. Like, yes, I'm young.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a female in a male dominated industry, all of those excuses, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
But I also know what the heck I'm talking about. And so I'm going to, walk into a room and have a presence and believe in myself so that others will believe in me and want to follow along with me. And then the
Yeah.
second thing is the amount of people that appreciate my directness has
Mm.
really come forth in the last, especially year. I think leaders, and I use that word very generally, they're not they're they're politically correct a lot of times. They don't want to say the hard things. They don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. They
Yeah.
don't want to point out, things that need to be worked on. I feel like leaders these days are being told, like, pump everybody up. Everybody deserves a trophy. Everybody gets a sticker, and
Yeah.
where I
Yeah.
come from, not everybody got a trophy. Like, only the winner got a trophy. And, I used to be a
Yes.
teacher, and not everybody got a sticker. Only the people that earned a sticker got a sticker.
That's right.
And
That's right.
the other interesting thing is, just doing your job is not
Yeah.
doing a good job. Does that make sense? Like, you don't
Yeah.
get
Unpack that a
get a
little bit. Yeah.
raise,
Yeah.
or yeah, like, you don't get a raise, you don't get a promotion because you did your job. You get a raise, you get a
Yeah.
promotion when you go above and beyond your job.
Hmm.
And I think that,
Yeah.
I say respectfully, kids these days don't necessarily understand that. They think if they clock in and they do what's asked of them, well, then give
Yeah.
me my raise at the end of the year, give me my promotion. And life doesn't
Yeah.
work that way. And so I, for right, wrong, or indifferent, have learned a a friendly directness, is how I would put it, to where
Yeah.
I don't come across meanly. I don't want to make you cry, but I am going to tell you, here's exactly what I'm thinking or what others are thinking or what the
Yeah.
situation is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'll put some positives in there, but I will also tell you the things that need to get fixed and get fixed ASAP. Um,
Yeah.
and if there's a conversation that needs to be had, we're having it and we're having it right this second. We're not going to drag on. We're not going to, see how things work out. Like, this world, especially our sports world, moves so quickly that if there is an issue, it needs to be addressed immediately, fixed, and moved on from.
Yeah.
We don't have time for delays and hand holding.
Well, yeah, 100%. I mean, because not only that of the responsibility that we have to our colleagues, but also to our clients as well.
Yeah.
And I love the idea of friendly directness. Now, was that something that was always a part of you, or was that something that a skill you developed over time, or said, "Well, I'm not comfortable doing this at first," but it became something like I really want to lean into. So how did that come about? You know?
So really interestingly, when I first got into sports, there weren't a lot of women, and I was looking for someone to look up to. I was looking for a role model, and
Yeah.
Mike and Greg, who I started Bespoke with, they not only are my colleagues, but they're also my best friends. And so I
Yeah.
went to them and said, "Hey guys, like, you're great, and thank you so much for being my allies and always being there for me. But there's some things that you just don't understand, and so I need you in a female form, right?"
Mm.
And I said, "Will you help
Okay,
me?"
I'm sorry. That just I got Mike
Yeah,
Boykin
don't put the
and
visuals
Greg
together
Book.
for
That
that.
that just painted pictures. I'm sorry.
Yeah, fair enough, fair enough. But I said, here's the things that I'm looking for. So one, she needs to be a she.
Yeah.
Um, she needs to be a wife. At the time I was
Mm.
married, and
Mhm.
living and working in this industry and being a spouse is very difficult, because especially
Yeah.
if your spouse doesn't work in sports, because they don't understand
Yeah.
a lot of just what happens in our industry, and
Mhm.
why I have to pick up the phone at 1 a.m. I can't just ignore it.
Yeah.
um so she needed to be a wife. She needed to be a mother. I
Mhm.
had a very young son at the time, and the
Yeah.
struggles of trying to be all things mom while all things business owner is
Yes.
the struggle is real.
Yeah.
Um, she this one always is a little controversial, but she needed to be attractive. There's a lot of things that get thrown my way that
Mhm.
men, quite frankly, don't understand, because that they don't get hit on.
Right.
But someone
Right.
who
Right.
who does can guide me in how to respectfully but firmly kind of handle that. And
Yeah.
then the last thing was, she needed to be kind. So
Mm.
many women that came before me, and listen, I understand why, but they were very hard. They were very
Yeah.
cold. They walked in with this like look on their face, like, "You're not going to mess with me." And they felt like they had to,
Mhm.
because they weren't going to be taken seriously otherwise.
Right.
Don't get
Right.
me wrong. I have that side to me, and unfortunately some people have seen it, but I don't like to lead with that. And I didn't want to
Yeah.
change
It's
who I
there.
was.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there if you need it.
Yeah.
It's not where you start with, and you
It's
can
not where I
understand
start.
too. I'm using back in the day where
Yeah.
there a lot of women did come because it was a different. Let's say I don't. I'm with you. It was a different time, especially in sports, and what
Yep.
they were trying to do to be taken seriously, and they work on the business and develop and grow. Right? Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, I kind of set all of that criteria, right? Of like,
Yeah.
and with the last piece being kind, like, I don't want to your point, I don't want to start there. I don't want to change who I am
Right.
fundamentally and my personality just because of the industry that I work in.
Mhm.
And, what was interesting was they searched high and low. And so there's 5 criteria. They would find someone with 4 of the 5, but there was always one missing piece. Like, she was everything, but she didn't have kids. And when I talked to her, she'd be like, "I have no idea how you have a child, because I don't know how you find the time." Or
Yeah.
she was everything, but she wasn't married, which, and I actually found out the hard way. I ended up getting divorced in the middle of my career, because like I said, it's really, really hard to
Yeah.
have a spouse who understands this crazy life. So anyway, I kind of kept looking, kept looking, kept looking. And This is a really great story. I was doing an interview earlier in my career, and it was for mothers. It was called Market Like a Mother. It was an award that I won, and it was for that award that I was giving the interview for, and I was giving that exact same story of how I was looking for this woman, and my
Yeah.
son was maybe 5 at the time, and he's in the back seat. I was giving the interview in the car on the way to soccer practice because balance, right?
Perfect.
Like we got to do what we
Perfect.
got to do. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and he piped up from his car seat in the back seat and goes, "But mama, that's you." And both myself and the interviewer on the phone both started tearing up. And I was like, "Well, you know what?" I said, "Not on purpose, but just kind of by necessity. When I couldn't find her, I just decided to be her. And I don't want a
Wow.
woman who comes after me to ever be able to say, 'I'm looking for this woman and she doesn't exist.'" And so not only do I exist, but I feel like in my generation, there's a lot of us now, and we're kind of really coming into our own from a leadership standpoint in the sports world.
Wow.
Um, and so we're giving the path to the women behind us that we never really had paved for us, but we're making sure that it's paved now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, Griffin was 5 when he
Yeah.
said that? It's wisdom. Oh my gosh. I
I always
mean,
say he's about to turn 13 next week, and I always say he's like a 90-year-old in a 13-year-old's body. Like, he's just so every now and then I'm like, "Griffin, what would you do? I need advice," because he's just so grown.
I love it. But your point there and the intentionality of trying to find someone who could be a North Star for you, right?
Mhm.
That could show you a way that was going to be aligned with your life. And I love that you had criteria. You took the time, again, intentionality to be,
Mhm.
very specific in what you were looking for that meant something to you. Yet where did you find that person? You found it right within yourself. Right? And how, I
Don't
mean,
make me cry.
but it's a beautiful, no, seriously though. I mean,
Yeah.
I love the idea we often do this, whether it's as leaders or just people, we will look outside for something to fill us before we would look inside to see what do we
So
have?
true.
What do we bring? What can we nurture? You know? I
Mhm.
just think that that's incredibly powerful, whether it's for leadership or it's just for your own sanity and your own personal peace and space in your life, you know? That's beautiful. That is
Thank you.
beautiful. Well, so with the pace that we keep and you keep in this world, especially again, I mean, you're running an army of people. You're small but mighty, and obviously with the pace and the fact that sports is a year round machine that is going. Was there ever a time when your team, even you, maybe you were hitting a wall? Getting to the point where you're like, I don't know, we can push through this. I don't know how we're going to get through this, but you tried something that maybe was a little unconventional, a different approach that actually, was what was needed, that actually delivered and helped people get to the finish line. Or maybe it was just you yourself. I don't know.
Yeah, I was thinking a lot about what the answer of this question would be, and I know exactly when it was that I hit the wall. I'm not proud of this story, but when we first started Bespoke, it was just 3 of us, and then it was 4 of us, and then it was 5 of us, but we didn't hit
Yeah.
10 for a couple of years, and so we were
Mhm.
really, really lean back in the day, and we got a lot of business, but the business required a lot of travel, and so I was here, there, and everywhere, and I crashed really hard in Indy one year. Went to the infield care center. They were like, "Hey, you need to get home and get home now." JD Gibbs at the time was still alive, and bless his heart,
Yeah.
he and coach put me back on their team plane. I was literally the only person on this entire Joe Gibbs racing
Wow.
plane, and they drove me
Wow.
home, or they got me home, and then I went straight to the hospital. And I actually found out that I had meningitis, and there's 2 kinds, one that kills you within 24 hours and then one that doesn't. And so they wrapped me in a bubble, and I had my phone, and that was it. And I had to call everyone and basically say, like, if I call you tomorrow, I'm fine. And if I don't, here's what happened. And that was the most like, Griffin was like 3 at the time. And so talking to your 3-year-old and just being like, "Hey, mommy's not feeling so well. I'm not going to be home for a couple of days," was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And then calling my mother and my grandmother. And so then I remember I
Oh,
called Mike and Greg and I said, and you always try and fix things, right? So I'm like, hey, first off, everything's going to be okay. I need you to get a piece of paper out and I need you to write down, like, we're getting ready to plan the Tony, or we're planning the Tony Awards. It's in 2 weeks. Here's where everything is. Here's where, and I start going into this and I'm like, and then the PGA Championship's right around the corner from that. And here's where all of that is, and blah, blah, blah. And finally, they both stopped me and they were like, Brooke, why are you telling us where everything is? And I was like, well, there might be a chance that I might not be here tomorrow. And I want you to know that the Tonys goes on and like, you need to make sure the guests, and they were like, stop, stop,
oh,
stop. Like, we don't care about work right now. What do you mean you're
yeah,
not going to be here in 24 hours? And I was like,
right.
well, I kind of have this meningitis thing. I'm in the hospital. It's fine. It's fine. And they're like,
Oh my,
this is not fine. And so
no.
thankfully, as you can tell, I'm alive and well.
You're here.
So
Yes.
I had the okay kind. But that was when they set me down and they were like, hey, you're a machine, but you can't do this alone. We need to start hiring
Yeah.
teammates and you need to start giving up some of the control. And that
Mm,
word right there, like give up some of the control, in
yeah.
my younger years, that wasn't happening. And I always thought that that made me more of a leader and a better worker and a better employee, is like if I
Yeah.
controlled everything. And what I
Yep.
realized literally laying in my hospital bed was I can't do it all. And when I try to, I literally almost die. And
Yep.
so in order to do everything that I want to do, I have to trust and rely and build this amazing team and give them the tools to kind of be me in situations that I can't be in, but not be me, be them, but
Yep.
be them in such a great way that they're even better than me.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I don't know if that really answers your question, but that was kind of like the moment, right? Like literally and figuratively. And
Yeah.
then it really opened my eyes to how to really lead a team versus just lead projects and do.
All right. There's a lot in there, friend. Wow. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I don't know why you said in the beginning you're not proud of it. It's not like you had a choice. It wasn't like you
Fair
got
enough.
up one day and
Yeah.
was like, hey, meningitis sounds great. I'll flip the coin. Let's see how it works out. Right. It's just a byproduct, right?
Hmm.
Of where you're at. I mean, I can remember a time. I've had a few of these over the years, but one in particular when I was working with Nextel and we were getting ready to launch the series sponsorship, and I was running the marketing communications for the sponsorship, and I had on my PR marketing team, we had like a team of four, and it was just insane hours for months on months on months, and I woke up in my hotel room in Daytona, like coughing up blood, and I had been feeling like horrible for like a couple of weeks, and we still went to the track. And one person on my team's like, "We got to get you to the infield care center." I ended up with like double pneumonia and like all this other stuff, and these are byproducts of the work, right? And we think that, unfortunately, my experience, I don't know if you can relate here, because I think this is what I was kind of hearing is earlier in our careers, we often make the mistake of identifying our identity with what we do, and the span
Hmm.
of that control, and being that person that everyone goes to, instead of over time perhaps, and maybe it takes being in that bubble and making a call to Griffin or to Mike and Greg and others going, hey, um, sometimes it's those moments too that stop you, to maybe help you recognize that there's a different way to define my identity in the work. And perhaps, and it sounds like what you were saying is, you shifted that to be more about building people up in the team,
Hmm.
building others that you could trust to step in and have a chance to grow, which doesn't necessarily take away from you, right? It just sort of amplifies what you're doing as a leader.
I couldn't agree more. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's just unreal. I mean, um, I can't even imagine. I mean, you're sitting there wondering, okay, do I want to go to sleep? I mean,
Yeah.
It's
I
just
did have some McDonald's French fries. I was like, well, if I'm going down, I'm going down swinging. So they brought me some in and like handed it through a door. And I was like, thank you.
scurried back to the bed, you know?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, we're grateful and better for you being here, friend. That is for sure. Hey, so when it comes to your leadership, and again, I'm picking up some great things in here. As you think about principles that you lead by or lead with, what's one that you have used or discovered that might be, I don't know, might, not be conventional wisdom, but it's something that consistently delivers for you? And deliver it for you could be peace of mind. It could be the success of the work. It could be the building of a people. But what principles do you lean into that serve you?
Yeah. I think, leaders that are especially my age, where we're in this life cycle of we've got, younger children, we're
Mhm.
leading teams, we're trying to grow in our own careers, like we're balancing a lot. And I feel like generations uh before me, they they hid all of that, right? Like
Yeah.
they thought of it as a weakness. And I don't want you to see that I'm taking a sick day, or I don't want you to see that I'm sneaking out to go to my kid's soccer game or whatever, because, then that means I'm not dedicated. And I want you to think that I'm 100% dedicated. And I just think that that's such the wrong way to look at it. Um, my team probably knows too much about me. But like, if I'm feeling a certain way, now there are some things that I take and I harness and I hold for them so that they don't feel it, right?
Yeah.
But I want them to see me leave early to go to Griffin's soccer game because that's also important. But then I want them to see me stay at the office until 8 o'clock because I know this needs to get done and it's the right thing for the client. And we always do that right thing.
Yeah.
And so I think if they see my balance, like as wacky as it can be on a day-to-day basis. The other thing that I think is really important, and my girls know this more than anyone because I say it over and over again, um, balance is BS. Like
Yeah.
because if you think about balance, right, in like
Yeah.
its true definition, it's even, it's 50-50.
Right.
And so
Right.
it means that you're only doing things at 50%. Well, Mike, I know you. You don't do anything at 50%. I don't do anything at 50%. So my
Yeah.
take on balance is, what are you giving your 100 to 120, let's be honest, because we always go
Yeah.
above and beyond in that
Yeah.
moment. And then
Mhm.
5 minutes later, what are you giving your 122 in that moment? And it just goes back and forth literally within seconds, right? Like I can be
Yeah.
working on one thing. Like right now, I'm talking to you. When we turn this off, then I'm going to shift to the next thing. When I get done with that, I'm going to shift to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I can be work Brooke. And in 5 minutes later, I can be mom Brooke. And in five
Mhm.
minutes later, I can be best friend Brooke. Like
Yeah.
it's exhausting and it takes a
Yeah.
lot. But I think showing this new crop of leaders that balance doesn't mean this. It just means focusing in and giving your full attention to whatever it is that you have in front of you. Because the other thing that drives me crazy is everybody that tries to balance, it's the ball juggling and they try and
Yep.
keep all the balls in the air.
Yep.
Something's going to drop. Like at the end of the
Without a
day, if
doubt.
you're trying to give everybody equal,
Yep.
something's going to drop. So
Yeah.
I'd rather hold all the balls in one hand and say, you get this today and you get nothing, but tomorrow
Mhm.
it's your day,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
it's not even tomorrow. It's in 10 minutes. It's your time. And
That's right.
that 10-minute window where you have my undivided attention is worth
Yeah.
way more than a day of I'm juggling and you get the time whenever you land in my hand.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I love that because that's something that for years, I was a big believer in that balance thing. Oh, the work-life balance, and all that. And it was probably about a year and a half ago, I kind of came to the same realization that like balance is a myth. I mean, it's not possible to your point. If there's nothing. So I lean into what I hear you saying, and it's something that I believe in is like, I'm going to be present in the moment with the
Mhm.
things that I'm with right now. I'm going to give that my attention, my presence, so that I can focus wholly on what's here in front of me instead of what we typically do, which is, yeah, I'm here and I'm looking off over here. Yep, okay, and I'm
Mhm.
trying to keep it all moving at once, which I agree. It doesn't work. I think the fact that you're modeling it is powerful. It's one thing to say it. It's one thing to say it because it's easy, right? And I had years ago, I had a mentor of mine who was worked at 3M, and he was the CMO there for many years. And he told me, he's like, Mike, it's not just in times of change and challenge that you got to be mindful of this. It's as a leader, anytime. He said, people are going to watch your feet, not your mouth.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to steal that.
And I'm like, oof. That is, he said, because you think about it, it's too easy just to say the things during challenging times or this is
Mhm.
what we should be doing and all that. But people are going to be watching your feet. And that's what matters. So like what I love there is that, you're showing it with your feet and bringing those actions to life that allow others to see how it can work and that someone can still be successful in doing that because they're bringing their whole self to the moment when it matters most.
Yep.
That's what I take from that. I love it. I love that principle. And you're living it. You're living it.
Trying to anyway, right? Oof.
So good. That is so good. Well, look, friend, is there anything that we didn't cover or you want to cover or talk about that maybe sparked as we were going through here? Because I got a lot of great notes here that I'll share when we wrap. But anything else on your mind that you didn't share or want to share?
Yeah, I love it. So I always throw this out just because I feel like a lot of people that listen to podcasts like this are, in a career, they may love it, they may hate it. They may be searching for something new or different. They may be looking for advice, just something to spark them, right? I
Yeah.
always end with, listen, at the end of the day, I actually am a kindergarten teacher. Like that's what my degree is in. That's where my career started. And I always
Yeah.
laugh and I always say the line like, if I can handle a classroom full of 5-year-olds, I can handle professional athletes because, transferable skills. So I
Right.
always say that as the joke, but like I was teaching and I was loving it, but there were things I wasn't loving. The paperwork, the politics, the government,
Yeah.
all of the testing, all of the things. And I sat down one day and like just looked in the mirror and was like, can you change the things that you hate about your job? Like, is there anything
Mm.
you can do to change them? In my case, statewide testing is never going to go away. The politicians getting involved in what should and shouldn't happen at public schools isn't going to change.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
paperwork and what needs to happen in order for people with disabilities and special needs to be able to get the resources that they need. Like that is a painstakingly slow process. And so
Yeah.
the answer for me personally was no, I can't change the things that I don't like. And so
Yeah.
then I was like, okay, well, you have two choices. You can either sit and wallow in this area that you don't like, or
Mhm.
you can go find something else that you do like. And
Yeah.
I think that is where a lot of my directness comes from. I advise people all the time on career jumps and they're in a career but they're missing their passion or whatever, and I'm like, well, why don't you just go do it? And everybody has an excuse, right? Like, well,
Sure.
I need a paycheck, and I get it. And like, trust
Yeah.
me, I'm very lucky that I was in a great position where I could live with a family member, and I had some things to fall back on to where I could make that jump.
Yeah.
But if I've learned anything in this life, it is that it is too short. And if you spend a
Yeah.
second in misery, that's a second too long. And so I'm not suggesting everyone that listens go change their life dramatically, but if there's something that you've been sitting with for a while that isn't
Yeah.
making you happy and there is nothing you can do to change it, get out. Go do
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
Because we all deserve to be passionate about our lives. And why waste a second doing anything other than that?
No, it is something I love that we do deserve it. we are, and more importantly, I believe too, we're worthy of it. And
Mm-hmm.
I believe that that word, a lot of people struggle with their own self-worth, and that they're worthy of the happiness, worthy of the success, worthy of the things that go along with the hard work it takes to get to where you want to get to, you know.
Yep.
And I agree with you 1,000%. I can empathize. I've been on that path and journey myself, and it can be scary as hell. There's no question about it. But
Mm-hmm.
you're right. If there's something in your life that you aren't happy with, we all have the providence to be able to change that, to be able to, even if it's a small thing, to change that. You know, I liken it to, well, and here's the thing, I can go on for like another hour with this, because I this is something I'm passionate about, where
Yeah.
oftentimes we devalue what it is that we want to do and can bring to the world. So we'll stick with something that's mediocre, thinking that that's just going to be okay. And then you
Yes.
realize that life is too damn short to be living that way. To your point, not suggesting you after hearing this, go and like resign and throw your world upside down. We still have responsibilities. The point, though, is that it's not up to someone else to do that for you.
Yes.
And I believe it's almost like if you were to go up to a mirror and you wait for your reflection to smile first.
It's so true.
Right? It's not. You have to be the one to step into that. You have to be the one to take the first step in action. And then you can be amazed at what happens once you put that ball in play and you make small strides and small steps. You know, Brooke, I think that's an amazing message to wrap on for this. I mean, just for the conversation that we've had. I mean, I've been making notes along the way, and I love to recap some things as we go, because there's such rich insights here, and especially from your perspective and the path that you've walked on, you've helped blaze, you've pulled limbs off the path for others, and helped others pull them off the path, and called others in to help pull those, and blaze that path. But the idea of friendly directness, I think, is really, really powerful. Not going in adversarial, confrontational, but just being direct to say, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's what I believe needs to be done. And then now we can have a conversation about that. I can see where are you coming from, to see where there might be a gap. There might be a need. There might be something I'm not seeing. But if I don't say it to you directly and not sugarcoat it, we may never get there. And quite
Yep.
honestly, we need to as a team, right? That's powerful. The idea to look inside, to find the person that you're looking for, perhaps to help be that North Star for you. I love that, because there's more within us than we give ourselves credit for, and the journeys that we've been on. The idea of where's our identity tied to? Is it tied to what we control and what we do? Or could we actually take a step back and broaden that identity as we evolve and grow, to suddenly say, well, what if my identity is really tied to building teams and building people and enhancing trust and giving them fulfillment in their roles? Phenomenal advice there. The fact that you are living it out, right? You're walking the talk with showing and exhibiting presence, and not balance, but being with who you are and who you need to be in that present moment. I think just great insights, Brooke, for obviously like a blueprint that's worked and served for you. But I really believe these are great points and skills and ideas that anyone listening can take and pick out. What would help serve me to get to my next step.
You made it sound a heck of a lot prettier than I did, so good job.
No, I'm just taking notes. You're the one sharing your story. I
Oh.
love it. I love it. Well, I want to thank you for your time. I can't wait for folks to hear this and absorb it and be part of it. Again, thank you for being here and sharing it with us. Please, for those listening, drop your thoughts, any comments in the notes below. Remember, we have more episodes coming up and coming out on a regular basis, so please check back in. And remember, friends, your best is yet to come. Cheers.